Phenomena. This is not our
Phenomena.
Welcome to UberCube, the podcast we discuss all things Cube, but with refreshments. This is your host, Anthony Adams, a.k.a. UberBear, and today, the trifecta, the Triforce, has been reunited. We're all here. The band is back in town. Let's start out with the lovely You Know Who You Are.
It's Stu.
Hi, Stu.
I'm going to continue to do this bit.
Hi, May, the most wonderful podcast host in the universe.
Well, that's what I have to say about that.
All right, fine.
So we got an interesting little topic, as we always say. I always say they're all interesting because they're interesting to me because I take the time to write them. Therefore, they must be interesting if I'm going to be bothered to write them. In this case, I wrote nothing, so I don't know what our interest scale is here.
Well,
we're taking free flow here.
We're taking a project approach to this one, right?
Yep.
So this is away from what we've talked about recently. We've done some event stuff. We've done some less sort of cube planning and organizing and card discussion. We've done some more philosophical, theoretical kind of discussions, and this one's kind of following on with that.
So let's kind of do something a little different here before we get to the drinks, which we're going to do in a second. I'm going to tell the end of the story. What we have done is we've essentially digitized Sandwich's Popper Cube, which is featured at CubeCon 2025. And yes, this is real. Stu has digitally built the Diablo Cube. I mean, I don't know where we clap. Do we clap, May? I saw you clap. May,
I think I deserve a round
really
of
count
applause.
that? Do we
Yes.
count that, right?
Yes.
All right, so let's get to our
Let's start.
drinks. And we're going to talk about how we got there and what the purpose of this is. But let's start out with the lovely May. What are you having on this, as usual, Friday that we do?
So, I am once again going to be avoiding the alcohol. So, I am going to be sipping some tea. It's some fireberry tea with cranberry, hibiscus, and rooibos. It also has like rose hip, carantis, blackberry, cranberry, and like rose petals. It's pretty tasty.
Delicious.
Well, we're having something that has all of that in it, but it's been fermented for like a long time inside of a cask that's made
Sounds
with
like a skill issue.
So we got Glen Levitt Founders Reserve. This is quite delicious. So we're gonna have a little bit of single malt scotch today because we love our scotch here.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother. Let's go. All right.
I think it's worthwhile that we're having a nice scotch. This is a celebration. And so, as Anthony mentioned, the Diablo Cube has been formed. The list is complete, or at least now we're actually on iteration number 2. So there's been some changes already. So we've been able to do some play testing. And today we're going to talk about, like Anthony mentioned, we have now digitized 2 cubes. So it was a discussion that we had a little while ago about giving us an opportunity to get more data, to build the cubes in a way where more people, I would argue, can actually play them with us, right? We're not reliant on everybody being available on a Thursday evening, which is the usual cube night. We're not reliant on geographical limitations, right? Where we've got people like your brother and May that are not within 20, 30 minutes, an hour of us or whatever, and that we would love to play cube with.
And what do we get out of this? We get kind of a meta diversity. This is going to sound weird. This is counterintuitive. So I'm all about touching the paper. Like, I like the feel of the paper. I like the feel of the sleeves. And I definitely love hanging out with my friends. This may be completely counterintuitive to what a lot of people may look at as cube. But we want to kind of show that it can be more than that from this perspective. And to kind of say, what Stu said, he's able to get more reps in because we are confined. Let me take it back a little bit. This was kind of the running gag. We played this 2 nights ago. I'm sitting in a hotel. I'm in, where the heck was
Houston?
that? Charleston.
Charleston?
I'm in Charleston. I'm in a
Okay.
hotel room. And the gag was, they're like, well, we can go ahead and get together a game tonight. And everybody's like, are you going to be able to make it Thursday? I'm like, yeah, I should be able to make it Thursday, I think. I haven't used one of my Magic credits. And this is kind of the gag bit here. I travel for a living. And I can't just always dedicate my life to the idea of Magic. As much as I do enjoy my hobby, my family takes precedent. I am going to miss a lot of events. After this recording comes out, I would have missed Capital Cube Championships. I would have loved to have went there. But because of the travel schedule and the hefty lift of, balancing life and, putting what's really important forward, this has actually kind of given me an opportunity to hang out with my friends on Discord, enjoy a beer instead of just sitting there watching Netflix, and doing nothing in a strange city.
Agreed. And that's a kind of a personal thing for you. And I will say that I don't travel for work, but I also have a family. I have obligations to my wife, to my children, and I'm not always even available for our Thursday night once a week. Like, I didn't make it last night. We're doing a renovation right now in our house. So it's, I want to be able to take the time to play. I have these interests, but I also have commitments to my house, right? That's me. And that's also you. But I also started thinking about it from an external perspective, right? So what other people will now have opportunities, even just inside our Discord or people that we know personally and others, to now play with us, to draft with us. And I think of, again, people outside our geography, right? So Anthony's brother Josh, he lives in Georgia. It's not realistic for him to drive 6 hours to draft on a Thursday and then drive home.
When I speak to him, I built him a pauper cube. That was something we talked about a long time ago. For a gift prior to his wedding, I built him a cool pauper cube, gave him the case, did all these things. And every time I talk to him, Josh, have you updated your pauper cube? No, I don't have time. I don't have anybody to play with. And yeah, he does have a surrounding area LGS, but it's a bit of a haul. It's like 35, 40 minutes for him to get into the car to go do that. And meanwhile, he's got responsibilities.
Yeah.
He's got work.
He's got a family.
He can't do that. And he does miss hanging out and playing with us. And during the dark times of the pandemic, we all kind of crowded around our little seedy hotel rooms, and that was my case. And we had our really bad tilted cell phones or our webcams that are really hard to get during the pandemic, trying to play Commander over a playmat with all the trust in the world, modifying the rules. It sucked.
It sucks.
We didn't like it.
It sucks.
But at least we got to kind of be a version of social back then, right? And so I appreciate the fact that this has happened. Now, this may be, again, I'm going to keep saying this may be completely counterintuitive to what some people may believe is the fiber, the being of Cube, right? You do want, I will say that is what I enjoy. I love hanging out those Thursday nights.
I agree. And I want to, specifically for May, this is a question for you, because I feel like when we have these talks about Magic, you've talked in the past that you kind of have elements of your play group that they really just want to play Commander. And then you've got elements of your group that you can convince to play your cubes, right? So you have the ability to play. Sometimes you may have to pander to the larger group, but at least the opportunities are there for you, right? So let's say, for example, I turn around to you and your group and I say, okay, you guys now have the opportunity to play online, right? You can sit at home. The investment is minimal. It's a couple of dollars for a Modo account with $5
pretty much lifetime. I don't even remember when I paid that.
That's
it was years ago.
That's it. All right, and then you can trade, which is the important part for getting this cube. Tell us how it might mean not just to yourself, but maybe people in your social circle that, for whatever reason, either don't have the capability, don't have the financial means, don't have even just sometimes like the social desire to be in a room with a large group of people, right? Sometimes that's awkward for people, especially people you don't know. But now you may have the comfort of being able to sit at home and do so. Like, can you sort of give us your opinion on that and how that might impact people that you know?
So I actually do a lot of online drafting. Well, okay, not as much as I used to, but I have done a fair amount of online drafting. And like you mentioned earlier, large part of it is like distance related, right? And I think one of the biggest draws that online drafting has for me is that it's able to rope people in that are, let's say, of different groups, right? Where I'm able to bring in people that are in one group or in another group and just kind of come together to just kind of have a cube night, right? But the other part of it is like, there are also like dedicated cube communities on like Discord and whatnot that where they have online drafting, and it comes up a lot. And there are rare occasions where I'll catch them like drafting my fake cube as an example. And that's always interesting because then I'll just see like the bunch of the notifications come down where it's just like, yes, all these people drafted my cube.
Yeah, I've been kind of seeing that too lately. Gwen Decker added that feature where people are able, I'm seeing Draftomancer happening all the time. I don't know what medium they're going from at that point, but I am, like May saying, I'm getting data at a faster rate now.
Well, you have that
from
option.
A larger group.
You have that option in Draftmancer to share data to Cube Cobra.
which is really
which is
neat.
incredible.
It's incredible versus the bots. Nothing against the bots, but if I've got 8 people making these critical decisions about, I don't know, the Fey Cube or Sandwich's Peasant Cube or Uber Bear's Artifact Cube, that has more weight to me than an algorithm. No shade towards said algorithm, and I love what it does, but I want that human, like, vibe about it. And every once in a while I'll get a message like, I chose this card because it was a unique build around, like, say, repurposing bay, where maybe I picked one, this card for this reason. So I get a lot more, it's more tangible, even though it's in a digital vibe, right? Does that make sense? I get more critical feedback that I can use right now.
The cube is still the cube at the end of the day,
Nothing's
regardless.
changed.
Nothing
Right.
changes. It's still the same cards. You've still got people that are making the same decisions. I would even argue, right? Don't be mad at me at this. I would even argue that the drafting is a better experience online just by virtue of the fact that you have a much easier access to the information presented to you when it comes to the cards that you've already drafted, right? You can lay everything out the way that you like. Typically, at least when we draft on a Thursday night, the cards are kind of laid down. It's a bit of hidden information. You don't want to give too much away. Whereas if everybody's in a separate location, you're just sitting in an office or in front of a laptop, you've now got all the cards that you've drafted. You don't have to worry about information, but you can see that. So when you're picking cards in the draft, you can be very, very critical with your thinking and the choices that you make.
I agree with that part. As in, when we're doing Draftomancer, that's the first part of this formula. I agree wholeheartedly versus at the table with our friends where there's this pacing issue going around the room. We do this running joke. This is my bit. I'm the one that started this one. Like, Christian's reading all the flavor text. Stop trying to build a story, Christian. Just
Poor
pass
Christian.
the cards.
Poor
but
Christian.
You see where we're doing this, but this is us having fun. This is how we have fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I noticed at the night we're drafting, there is like this eerie dead silence. People are thinking, and I can kind of see that loading screen that is being prompted, but it's not calling out Christian right now for reading flavor text. And Christian, we know you're reading the flavor text, by the way. But that pass still happens, and I'm just sitting there and I'm chilling. I click. No one rushes me. Nobody says anything. That part feels a lot more organic. Now, I'll go back to that part. There is that vibe, that fun that we do have in that shouting.
Nothing
and that
can
yelling
take
and
away
that
from
pacing.
that. Nothing will replace that.
So we're not trying to replace that,
No.
but I think that is an accurate description, the way you put it,
Yeah.
is you get to think with a little bit more clarity.
And plus, you kind of get to review your cards very, very quickly, right? You've got the preview option. You see a card. You think, oh, I wonder if there's a little micro interaction or a little micro synergy somewhere in the rest of the cards. I think there might be. You get to quickly look, okay, cool. That card would really fit with this little synergy here,
Which
little
I struggle
synergy
to do
there.
that with the paper format.
Yes.
And at the same time, I'm not being blinded by the foils and stuff and the
Right.
alter treatment or the
Yes.
alternate treatments and things like that, at least in the case of our cubes, right? So these are pretty standard looking cards. The text and the font's pretty clear. and
Easy to
clean on
read.
Yeah, so all those little hangups that I would have had in that blinged out cube, I don't have that
Yeah.
in this version, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's an accessibility component added to what May said, that not everyone wants to be in that 8-person pod at our place.
Not
on a
everybody
Thursday.
wants to be in
They
a
don't want to be
room
that social
full
grouping.
of people,
And I get
especially
that.
people, again, that you're not super familiar with. But to say, hey, you want to come in? You want to draft with us? We're going to be hanging out in this Discord chat room. Anybody can join voice. You can turn video on. You can not turn video on. If you want to come in and be super social, you have that option. Or if you just want to come in and hang out and just do the draft and play, that's always an option.
So let's
as
go
well.
a little bit more technical on this. We're all talking about this as if everyone's going to intuitively even understand what we're talking about for a process. So one of my goals for today was going to make Stu say how we did this. So let's start with the Draftmancer portion. Did I get that right? How do we approach that? Where did you begin? And try to make this so that someone can follow this in a verbal cue as we do this, the best you can.
So again, the first cube that I put together was Chris's Pauper Cube. The plan was always for me to do the Diablo Cube afterwards, but the first one, Pauper Cube. So I took the list on Cube Cobra and I basically exported it to a text file to make it easier for me to track the cards that I had acquired on Magic Online. And now I've got a list. It's all 360 cards in that Pauper Cube in a text file sitting on one of my monitors, and on the other, I've got Magic Online. And the next step, and the most time consuming, and which could be the most expensive depending on what the cube is like is acquiring all of the cards needed to build the cube. Now, for clarification, the way that I wanted to build this experience, right, the way that I've built it for Chris's Pauper Cube as well as my Diablo Cube, is that I did not want anyone to have to acquire cards on their own in order to play the cube with us. My intention was always to own all 360 cards for the cube so that after the draft, I take all of the deck exports from everybody who's drafted, I trade them their 45 cards, they build the deck on Magic Online, and away they go. And that was a process that was a bit of a live and learn kind of thing.
I want to add one little piece to this, and this has happened. So as we kind of do this, we do our pro and con thing, right? And this is not to interrupt his thought chain he's got going, because you're going to continue that. But one of the complications that we saw immediately is when he gives us said cards to get into Moto, and he's going to go over that in a few minutes. They're in my bucket now. He's lent them to me. It's now my personal responsibility to give them back. Nothing says that I must. That was a little bit of a hang up. Like, we still got some that are rented out, air quotes, right now, but they're in our group, right? If we try to expand this past where we're currently at to anybody and everyone, now we need cool people to give you your allotment back, right?
Absolutely.
And it's not that they have any intentions of keeping them. What the hell are they going to do with them?
And I mean, for the most part,
it's more of the, oh man, I just don't have time to click on this.
That is definitely
That's
a thing,
right?
It is a thing that, especially if you're planning on doing regular drafts, you want to make sure that you get the cards back, right? But I would imagine, and I'll put this to you guys, that you should probably have a fairly high amount of trust in at least the friends that you have, that if you draft a cube and then you trade them the cards, that it's a pretty good, you're going to get them back, right? Could you guys both agree with that you would expect to be able to get the cards back?
So Matt Belcher is the person that I look to as, the S tier, God tier of doing this. Matt hosts the CubeCon cubes all the time. Every week you see them rotating up. They're getting play reps in. So that's a huge positive of this. From outside of your just meta where, say, you go back in time and, oh man, the Uber Bears Artifact Cube is in a great place. Then go on camera like, oh, what is Collector Oof doing there? If I had had that exposure back then, people would have seen that early on, outside of Chris saying, take that card out, and I'm ignoring him because he's my friend, but then say, shout out to Bones, or our good friend Cade, or Kirby, or Shoot, but I'll be like, you're breaking your cube, this doesn't belong here. You're getting that.
Yeah, so this is obviously a little... Yeah, so this is obviously outside of sort of the process of putting this together so that we can get people to draft. But yeah, this is definitely a great effect of having this ability to be able to draft at will, where you're not reliant on getting 8 people in a room, that you can get all this additional data. So I will say that was a motivation, a huge motivation, certainly for my cube, and I can imagine for anybody else who wants to be able to provide that ability for them to be able to draft their cubes at will, just do it online. It's perfect for that. So again, now I've acquired the cards. I'm going to give a stop here as far as the process, little advice, little light bulb ding that I had. What we'd noticed, or what I'd noticed when I was doing the trading after the draft, is that the players had drafted 45 cards, and then when they sent me their list and I was pulling up the trades,
the
.deck file that you export from Draftmancer, they were getting like 19 cards and 23 cards. And I'm thinking, why are they only getting so many cards? Why are they not getting the full 45? So to be very clear on this is something that, if this is something you're planning to do, that you really need to be careful of, is make sure that the versions that you own on Magic Online match up exactly, and I mean the set that they're printed from, any finishings, etch foil, whatever the case may be, alternate art, the whole 9 yards. Make sure that the Modo list is reflected as accurately, up to 100% preferably as possible, on Cube Cobra. And the reason why I say that is because when you do the draft on Draftmancer, you are importing the cube from Cube Cobra. So it's taking all the cards, all the finishes, all the versions, everything. That's what it's using to build the cube, but then that's how it's also building those deck files that the players will send you in order to trade their cards to be able to play.
So I never understood this. So when Matt Belcher, and thank you, Matt, for doing this on multiple occasions, has hosted my Artifact Cube, one of the interesting things that I've seen occur is he has that rental service. He keeps it going. He snaps these cards out. He's got it streamlined. He even has a document that I'll have to locate and try to include in this on just how to do this so cleanly. You are keeping holding these, you own these cards. So we kind of talked about that whole trust. I'm handing them out.
Yeah.
But even in the loan factor, I believe Matt is held accountable to the idea of at least loaning them out and has to get them back. So you have to have cool people that are engaged. You do have this little bit of a technical challenge, and I want to talk about that first experience, that hang up, that everyone in the room, May, I want you to be a part of this now. We're there now, I believe. I'm going to give you the difference of an hour and a half of 2 hours of total chaos in a single channel of Discord with a bunch of people that are all over the country with different mic volumes, etc.
Trying to get their cards, trying to play the game.
Brain on fire, getting your name called, versus now I can do this in under 25 to 30 seconds. It's that zip-lined versus before. Now I'm ready to actually say we should get people to do this. So back to what he's saying, that huge hang-up was, oh man, I'm missing a gush. Well, I'm just, that's an example. He's got a special treatment. Maybe he has a judge foil in that pile that doesn't align with what's on Cube Cobra, or a force spike, or a dismember that's got the new art that came out. That had to be, that was the thing that was Bill's epiphany. And had we known someone else in the community, say like a Matt Belcher or something, we stopped and asked, we might have gotten past this.
Yeah.
But we're all losing our minds because of that first experience. I was thinking, the hell with this, man. I back to Anthony's board in a hotel room, but I can go listen to some smooth jazz up the road right now and have a scotch. I was thinking that the whole time.
Because let's be clear,
I was ready to quit after that immediately.
Well, let's be clear. After that, this was the first experience. Actually, it was the first 2 drafts that we did of the Pauper Cube where we ran into this problem. And I'm not kidding. After we did the draft, the trading portion alone took an hour and a half just to get everybody their 45 cards each, and that was only with 6 players. So that's where I started to think, okay, this isn't manageable. This is not a practice that's going to work moving forward. We're not going to do it. No one's going to want to do it.
This is probably the most important part of this episode. If you do what we're telling you to do, this will be why you'll quit doing it if you don't tune into this portion. Yeah. That was a lot of work on your part.
It was.
And I commend you to navigate the frustration. I'm telling you, besides the fact that none of us know how to play MTGO. I mean, let's start with that as a base. We haven't even gotten there yet.
I know MTGO.
There's about 4 of us giving you just enough rough notes on how to control Z, May. So, like, you make a mistake, and I'm like, what the holy hell? And we've talked about, and May, I'm including this, May. I remember the one time I played a long time ago when they did Uber Bear's Artifact Cube again, and I cast a Walking Ballista, and I had borderline infinite mana. I had the kill on board. Like, I'm going to win. I'm so excited. And I hit enter, and it cast it for 0/0 in the place of the XX.
Oh, no.
Because I don't understand that interface and that it's feeding my mana over to the left. Me, normally, I'd just like tapping mana, The paper players, and that's what I am, I'm not good at this. So now, take away my previous frustrations of Moto and my thoughts and my feelings and my arguments. Now turn it into the complexity of now we're an hour and a half traffic jam waiting for Stu to solve this, and bless his heart for putting up with the nonsense coming through that microphone. I mean, I'm getting up. I'm taking a walk. I'm gonna go touch some grass right now.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind. You guys figured it. Let me know when this is
I
solved.
need to feel the dirt between my toes.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, to emphasize, what did you say? Make those cards match, baby.
The versions
Perfect.
on Cube Cobra with the versions that you have on Magic Online. It literally went from an hour and a half of trying to get everybody their decks to I actually have the Pauper Cube 100%. I believe I have the Diablo Cube at 100% now. I think I did all the Diablo stuff before even the first draft, and I think, if memory serves, there was a grand total of 4 cards that didn't match.
Now, outside of the loaner service, which I don't know anything about that, so I want to get Matt on. I want to get him on here to explain.
Okay, so the card loaner service is basically you have tiers of money that you can pay each month. I think it starts at like $5 and it goes all the way up to like $50 or $100 a month. And basically what that means is if you have the lowest tier of membership, you're only allowed to borrow X value amount of cards at a time. The highest membership is like you can borrow hundreds of tickets, and one ticket is $1. So if you're drafting very expensive cubes on a very regular basis, or if you're playing 60 card Magic, if you're playing Modern, Legacy, Vintage, whatever, it makes sense to have that high tier.
I have an immediate observation because, again, I was a child in the wilderness with this situation. Stu, I'd like for you to walk us through the best you can. We've already talked about it. This is going to be redundant. It's going to be repetitive. This is kind of a complicated thing we're talking about. I want you to do your best to try to tell the listeners how they're going to take the Fey Cube all the way down and turn this into this idea so they, too, can have that cube.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to go to the Fey Cube, right? And I can't remember the person's name, but they're pretty much one of the most legendary cube curators on the planet who designed that cube. I don't know if they're in the room right now.
Didn't
if
they die in space?
Oh, hang
Didn't they die in
on.
the
Is that
vacuum of
is
space?
it is it Magic over here? Is it May and the
no.
Fey Cube? Listen, and I'm sure you would love to see this as a project. It would be
It
wonderful.
is a project that I want to do. So please explain to me, a layman, how am I going to do this?
So first of all, like I said, I'm going to export the entire Fey Cube list to a text file. That was the first. I talked about the versions matching, but you got to acquire those cards. Okay.
Thank you. That's what I wanted you to say.
I did not use a rental service. I bought all the cards. Now I'm going to start with the Fey Cube. May has always stated, and you can clarify this for the record, that you have always wanted the Fey Cube to be a budget-friendly cube. So let's start out with, because this is critical, what we're about to talk about. Tell me what your budgetary restrictions are for the Fey Cube. And you've built this in paper, so these are real cards. We're not talking about online right now. We're just talking about budget restrictions for the Fey Cube. What are they?
So I tend to try to have cards that are worth less than $4 each.
Okay.
And for a majority of the cube's content, 227 cards of the cube are less than 25 cents.
Okay.
Right? There are 6 cards in there that are currently worth more than $2. However, most of those are because they're special printings.
Okay.
Right?
Well, okay, so I want to ask a question right in the middle of this. This is a thing that I thought of. So the Fey Cube, what was the art you had recently? What's the card that says, mill a card, draw a card, it's got the fairies on it? We just talked about this.
Thought Scour.
Thank you. Perfect example. So I want to make a digital version of this cube. There is a certain amount of sacrifice that will have to be made based on monetary reasons. If you are restricting yourself for these reasons, if you want to match her climate, what she has, her aesthetics, all the way through and through, then you're probably going to have to chase these cards. I have no idea what that cost. I don't.
$140. As of time of recording, is $140. The cheapest versions that you can get of my cube is $86.
It's quite the difference.
Correct. So that's kind of where I'm leaning in. So take this and apply this to the Fem Cube. I thought about this. It won't be the Fem Cube by the time you convert this. It'll be, as I've advertised, a Pauper Peasant Cube.
Well,
you see the challenge of this idea.
Well, let me be clear. This is where matching perfectly, if you have an aesthetic-based cube and wanting the exact printings, can start to make things a little complicated, and not necessarily just because of the availability. And this is another very important point that I want to make here. The Magic Online versus paper economies and the card values are wildly different, and I do mean wildly.
Yeah,
right?
I don't even understand the structure.
It's
I looked
extremely.
At some of them.
It's
You told me,
incredible.
what was the troll? You said Troll of Khazad-dûm was one. You said
Dirt cheap.
But then on Magic
Dirt
Online,
cheap.
was it also equally
Dirt
cheap?
cheap.
Okay,
because Troll of Khazad-dûm is a common, and a common in a very
50
widely open set, right?
Okay,
It was
right.
in Lord of the Rings, so things like that are super dirt cheap. But it's an interesting point that you made. So I'll start with the Fey Cube. The Fey Cube could probably, if you had no restrictions on the art, you didn't care necessarily if it was all the art treatments that make it appropriate for the Fey Cube, because obviously the artistic direction is not an insignificant reason why a lot of those cards are in the cube or appropriate for the cube. You could make the same argument for your Fem Cube, so on and so forth. You're going to have to either A, be prepared to spend more money, or B, be prepared to make some concessions for the sake of keeping your cube true to the paper version and having the same version online. Okay? That's just the reality. Incredibly,
So,
sometimes...
I do want to add a quick clarification real
Sure.
quick. All right. So, a cool thing about Cube Cobra is that it'll actually tell you how much it'll cost in MTGO tickets, right?
It does.
So, for example, a card like Spellstutter Sprite in paper costs $3 for like the Rebecca Gay printing, right? And this is the printing that I prefer because it's gorgeous, right? However, it only costs 0.04 ticks. Right? Like minuscule amount. Like
Nothing.
it drastically changes like the value of the cube.
And let's be
right?
clear,
So this
0.04
cube
tickets.
is like in my particular case, this cube's extremely affordable.
Yes. Yeah.
in MTGO.
Let's be honest, 0.04 tickets is 4 cents. That's it.
Okay.
4 cents.
I didn't understand that economy. but that makes
0.04
sense. Okay.
ticket.
All right.
A ticket is $1.
Okay.
So 4/100ths of a ticket is 4 cents.
Okay.
That's how cheap. And for the Pauper Cube and for the Diablo Cube, you would not believe the number of cards that I picked up that were 2 cents.
Now,
4 cents.
I'm going to
less than
I'm gonna
5
share
cents.
these lists. So let's talk about the Popper Cube for a minute.
Yeah.
So Chris's Popper Cube completely foiled out. So I built my little brother's Popper Cube, and it was kind of a goal I had. And we're not doing apples to apples here, but I did a 360. I bought him the case. I want to say the entire cube cost me about $90 for a gift. And that was with everything. And it's actually, that's probably extreme. That was the worth of it. I actually had most of those cards lying around. So I didn't have to, they were just there. They were like chaff or whatever. I have all these ninjas.
You don't dare call those Pauper Cube staples chaff. How dare you?
They could be if you wanted to be. So I didn't do the extent of what Chris did. So if you want to do Chris, well, he went and he's crazy and he's had years. You probably broke a couple of hundy here. You're a grand. You're a G. You're comfortably a G.
Yeah.
Because you foiled out all this. So you have to think about like, this is a digital version. This is where I stand. Who cares? Like, I mean, who cares anyways, but who cares? Back to the aesthetics conversation that we've already talked about. We're in the future. We're in the past. Hasn't come out yet, but you know where we're at. Back to the Future. Great film. But at this point, I'm not going to spend all this money foiling this out and blinging this out. But I do think it's important. If I'm going to do the fake cube, I want my thought scour to look like my thought scour. For me, like, I think back to the film, that would take away if it was, I'm just going to say it, if you had a Chandra in there and it suddenly switched over to who cares, right? A Chad, a super Chad,
a frog,
a frog, right? It's all the same. It wouldn't even be the vision of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
and I don't want that to go out to the universe. I don't want anybody to see that.
You don't. However, again, if you are trying to build your cube on a budget, because there's a number of motivations that you will have or can have for building a cube online, especially if you already have it on paper. You could have the I want to collect data motivator. You could have the I don't have the capability to play these cards and this cube in paper. I want to be able to play online because maybe my extended play group is not in the geography.
2 or 3 people, and we're Winston drafting all the time.
Yeah.
And I want more out of my investment of my time.
Exactly.
That's fair, actually. That's come up more times than not, so that would give you reach.
And again,
even
like
if
for
you're not
you,
data-driven,
you
that's
talked
reach.
about your family, right? And I don't have a brother that lives in Georgia. If I had a brother that lives in Georgia that loves Magic
And
as
I wanna
much as
hang
your
out
brother
with
does,
him.
you want to hang out, you want to play with him, now we can. Now we have 2 cubes, actually 3 cubes. I have 3 cubes on Magic Online now. But now we have 3 cubes, and every time someone decides, you know what, I want to build my cube online, I want to be able to get the reps in and, play on a different night than the Thursday, maybe just on a Saturday night or a Tuesday night, whatever. You know what, I'm feeling in the mood for a draft. Shout out in the Discord. Anyone just feel like getting together and doing a quick draft right now? Let's go.
All right, so we did Draftomancer. Draftomancer's seamless.
Draftmancer.
I put an O in there.
Yes, you have.
It should be a dash, O dash.
Contact the owner.
I'll let them know because that'd be way cooler. But the idea of it, that was streamlined. That was easy. The finish is real. The font's clean. I'm playing the fake cube. I'm playing Sandwich's Popper. Can read these cards. I have clarity. I'm in Charleston. I'm in a hotel room. Everything is perfect.
Well, we're missing one.
Now we're gonna move over to Moto.
Well,
that was brutal.
Kind of. We're missing just one last final piece of the card acquisition, right? So, again, going all the way back, the process. Get the list from Cube Cobra. Literally, I had it in a text file, and I'm just copy and pasting names into, and there's a bunch of bots. I used Card Hoarder. So I used the Card Hoarder bots. Big shout out to Card Hoarder. Thank you for sponsoring this episode. So Card Hoarder were incredible because they have bots that have got like literally 150,000 cards on each bot, and it was just copy, paste into the search, double click. I did check the price on all of them, and again, for the most part, they're super cheap. They're 2 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents, maybe 20 cents for them for a couple of the cards. Put them in my cart, in your virtual cart, which is just in the bot list. Submit the trade, get the cards, keep moving on, and just build the list. That is it. You just do that ad nauseum in repetition until all 360 cards. And I actually built a freeform deck with the cards. If you buy a card that's outside of the version, you can do a little right click and update the version. This is some other technical stuff. And if anyone really has an interest in doing this, I will say this. You know where I'm at on Twitter, at Bluesky, on the Discord. If you're doing this and you need some help, just reach out. I'll be happy to help.
It's a little brutal. This part was
brutal.
It
is brutal. It was kind of, I say that, but it probably took me a couple of days. But the point I wanted to make was this.
Well, before he does that, a couple of days, May.
It took
him a couple of days.
Yeah, but how long are you...
We're waiting weeks.
This is another thing, right?
Dozens.
Yeah, how long are you waiting if you go and order your cards from
Star City
from
sending me cards right now.
Yeah,
Holy
how
cow.
long are you waiting?
Well, thanks to all of our friends at Star City, I'll be getting them by Monday.
So 4 days. We could have done 10 drafts of both of my cubes each. But I wanted to raise the point about Chris's cube because this kind of follows on with what May talked about and the dressings and the specific arts that you also talked about. I built Chris's Pauper cube, sans, I want to say, less than 15 cards, okay?
Uh-huh.
I had built all of Chris's Pauper cube, minus these less than 15 cards, for, I would say, somewhere between $5 and $10. Okay.
Well, okay. So I think that's a little convoluted what you said because I want to be honest with the listeners.
I had built.
Because you traded some cards off. You told me this.
No. I'm including that. Don't get me wrong.
Financials.
I'm being. This is all going to be clarified. All will be clarified, right? Yeah. The reason why I know this is because I know what the card values were. You'd be surprised, actually. There are bots on Magic Online. Dojo has a bot. I think there's a couple of that will give cards away for free. One of them gives you a flat 64 cards for free over the account lifetime. So you take your 64 cards, that's it. There's another one that will give you 20 free cards a day for free. So if you're drafting something like a Pauper Cube or maybe even a Peasant Cube, where the rarity is at that low level, and especially if it's part of a set that has been very widely opened, there's not a bad chance that you're going to get some cards for free. And I actually did that. So if you've got a cube that has got a bunch of commons, maybe some lower powered uncommons, there's not a bad chance that you're going to get them for free. And I would thoroughly recommend, if you're looking to build a cube, you could even just go on those free bots, look at the cards that they have, take 20 cards a day and build what you can. So I took advantage of that to an extent. Either way, I had about 345 cards of Chris's cube. I'd spent $5 on that. That's it. The last 12 cards cost me $70. 70.
That's a lot.
It's a 7 and a 0.
I would have told him to cut those in a heartbeat.
This is a Pauper cube. And again, this goes back to the differences in economy. So one of the things that is important to remember is that in real life, you can go to your Targets and your Walmarts and your local game stores.
We're not going to the big box.
You're not going to the big box stores.
LGS.
But what do you think right now, especially with the prevalence of the format, is one of the most widely opened type of Magic product?
Final Fantasy?
No, not like that. I'm talking about the type of product, not the set.
You mean just it's booster boxes, I guess, or whatever the hell they call. I don't know. They're definitely not collector boxes.
Booster boxes and those kind of things are available. But what is maybe even a format? Well, I'll tell you. Commander sets.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah,
right.
Yeah. I should have just assumed.
Any card, as an example, that is exclusive to a Commander precon, those don't get opened in the volume on Magic Online that they do in paper. So
because they're not cube friendly,
they're
really.
No, I mean they're not as Magic Online friendly. Right. People do play Commander on Magic Online, but people aren't playing Commander like they are in paper. There's just not the availability. And that's kind of a roundabout way to
it's
say.
also kind of against the vibe of what you're trying to do with Commander. I can see the whole...
Maybe, but again, you
thing.
can make the same arguments that you can for Cube, right? If
True,
you're
true,
someone
true.
who wants to play Commander, but you don't have a group, you don't feel comfortable going to a store with a lot of people or playing with people you don't know, now you have the ability to be able to do so. I really do want to make sure that that is something that I'm putting across in a very big way. Like that I don't want this to come across as, you know, it's not an elitist point of view to be like, I want to play Cube in paper, but we really should state categorically that it's just not an option for a lot of people for whatever reason. Could be financial, could be geographical, because they're not comfortable with being in a room with people that they don't know, or just in a room with a lot of people, period, right? So having the ability to be able to play in a place by yourself in the comfort of your home. First, I'm not even remotely doubtful of this, that this is going to be a critical way and maybe the only way that a number of people can play Magic.
I think it's important, too, to say as a little kind of like self-promotion here, too. May, when we talk about the Fey Cube, which is a project we're going to work on, I will be talking to you about this. I actually still be doing the work. I'll be financing it from whatever, but you get the idea. We want this to happen. We want more reach with this idea. We've kind of talked about this, putting it on YouTube, you know, supporting this idea. Now we can get more reach as a podcast and I'm not editing this. I swear there'll be no editing. It'll be raw. Whoever's cussing in the background because they hate Moto, it's going to happen, right? I'm going to label them, all of them, Ubercube, losing their minds after dark, trying to click on MTGO.
Well, I think you can make content that's fun.
We can get more reach now, more reps, more feedback. You know, again, back to the trials and tribulations that the paper players, when we go out, I meet up on Thursday. I'm playing in my little isolated meta that's now 12 to 14. It's gotten more robust. But in the Wayback Machine, it was 6 to 8, right? And those opinions were very like consolidated on how they look at Magic. And then you introduce these cubes, as we do. The Fey Cube goes to Uber Cubathon, or it goes to CubeCon, or maybe Uber Coastathon, still talking about this idea. And now you're getting more viewpoints, more players, different play styles, different metas, the way they just look at cards. We can get there. Not that our cubes are ever going to reach perfection or enlightenment or all that idea, but at least we can kind of tweak them a little faster, a little cleaner. This gives me, as a curator, and May, a curator, a way of doing so, or designer giving us a little faster route to kind of trying to dial it in some, right? That's my biggest takeaway from this. Now I want you to look up how much Metalworker cost on Moto. I think this is where we die on the hill.
So, Anthony was asking about Metalworker. So, obviously, again, printings in paper and what's available on Magic Online differ greatly. As you can imagine, there is a reserve list. Everyone knows about the reserve list. No such restriction when it comes to Magic Online. You can make as many Mox Jets and Time Twisters and Black Lotuses and Ancestral Recalls as you like. You're not printing them, they're just digitally available, right? So how much is a paper Metalworker?
Look it up real quick. I think it's a moderately played version of that's about $90. If you want a foiled version, which is the dream, right? Well, I want the foiled version. I really do. I think we're hitting
that one card is worth more than like a non-leaned out version of my entire.
And I have to really like ground myself and say this is paper that someday when I die, my son Caden has to figure out what do I do with this. It's an estate sale. All right, $5 sounds good, but
yeah, that's what my wife said. That I paid for it, right? That's what I told my wife.
I got to pay my gas.
But
bill
this is a great Metalworker is a great example. So Magic Online also has promotional cards and printings that are only available on Modo. It's the same with the reserve list cards and a ton of other cards as well. So you can go online right now on Magic Online and go to one of the bots, right? Go to Card Hoarder, go to whatever. And the one I'm looking at right now is it's from a promo set on Magic Online. It's Metalworker, beautiful art. It's less than $5.
See, that's wild. That's wild.
Less than $5.
So I guess that's a pro of this idea, right? Because I always kind of thought this is the mentality that I kind of walked into this episode with is, oh, we're going to keep this popper. We're going to maybe do the Fae because through intent, we've made these affordable. I'm probably, outside the film where I can't do the art and, the aesthetics of the Fem Cube that I'm looking for, the art choices. But now I lean into my Artifact Cube. I want people to play it outside of even just loaning them. Is it affordable? Probably not. Don't be bothered. $90 to buy Metalworker, which that card's declined in price, but you get my point. Now we go $5. If that's reasonable for you as the listener, I can see the argument for trying to build this out, try it at home.
And listen, I want to clarify this again. $70, Pauper, man.
So there's actually a spicy thing now that you mentioned that a Metalworker is like less than $5 on MTGO, because prices can get a little weird with the Tix system, right? Weird enough that apparently one of the cards in particular in my Fake Cube. Let's see if you can figure out what it is. All right. So first of all, it's an adventure card. It's in red. It's a dragon.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Off the top of my head.
Amethyst dragon.
How much is that?
It's an uncommon.
Okay.
So usually it's 13 cents.
So is it?
So it's
$13?
It's $4.69 ticks.
So how or what? Where was that printed? This is the interesting thing. What set was that
Baldur's
printed?
Gate.
So it was printed in Baldur's Gate. Was it only printed in Baldur's Gate?
Correct.
Okay. So again, this is where
prices get weird.
It really does, and this is where it gets nuts. And let me be very clear. Chris's Pauper Cube has some like old cards in it, and not just the fact that some of the cards are old, but some of the cards that are very, very desirable across many, many formats. Interestingly, you know what was one of the more expensive cards was Ephemerate. Ephemerate was like
that makes sense.
$6 or $7 just for that one card. You can go on whatever.
Ephemerate's a good card.
It's a great card. You can also buy it for dirt cheap in paper.
Yeah, but okay, that kind of takes us over to. So we're building this out. We want to make this happen. You can also make concessions and mod these. I mean, you can do this with paper or digital. I don't care, right? You want to make a copy of my Artifact Cube. You want to make a copy of the Fake Cube or Chris's Peasant Cube.
Or my Diablo Cube.
Your financial responsibility, or Diablo Cube. Everybody's going to copy that worldwide.
Thank you.
You know, everybody knows it. But if you look at that card and you go, or paper or digital, and you're like, I cannot afford that. You can substitute, right? Like there are functional reprints, alternatives, something that's in a similar vein. Maybe it cost one more mana than the one you wanted to do. Maybe you had something that was a 1-drop that did a thing. Well, maybe, heaven forbid, you sacrifice and go to a 2-drop that does the same thing. But now you've changed the scheme of the card, but who cares? No one cares.
Okay, but you do make an incredible point, and one that follows us on to the next. I know. You do have your moments, but this leads me on to the next part of this, right? So because the Pauper Cube is not my cube, I decided I wanted to be as absolutely true to the Pauper Cube as possible when I built it. So even though I priced it out and it was going to cost me $70 to build this cube, to me, that wasn't any concession that I was prepared to make. I wanted to stay true to Chris's list. So it was a bit of a financial investment, but I wanted to do so, okay? However, with my Diablo Cube, I decided to set myself a soft limit. I took the list and I said, I am going to automatically buy any card that is less than 1 ticket. Again, most of the cards are 2 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents. Some of them are 20 cents, but not many. Most of them were in that less than 10 cents mark, right? So I absolutely slammer-jammered all of those cards. Then I made the decision, I'm going to take the list of cards that are more than $1 and I'm going to find replacements for them for my online list in order to keep this budget, okay? And I will say that was relatively easy for me to do. I kept sort of fairly true color to color, type to type, and just built the cube the best that I could with that as a financial restriction online. Stayed true to the vibe of the cube. Aesthetically, I'm not quite as concerned with the online version as I will be with the paper version, but I felt like I really didn't have to make much of a concession when it came to the playability, the strength, the aesthetics, the vibe of the cube to put that restriction in. I really didn't. And what was also surprising to me, even though I made that as kind of as a soft restriction, if I didn't, let's say I just said, screw it, I'm going to put all of those expensive cards. And I think the most expensive card that I didn't include, there was a couple of them. Battlefield Improvisation was like $7 and change. Wyleth Soul of Steel was actually like almost 14 tickets. So those are two pricey cards that I decided not to include.
Rookie numbers,
dirt cheap. But even if I'd have decided to include all of those 1 ticket or greater cards in the Diablo Cube, it still would have been cheaper. The options are there. And also, this follows me on to the last point I'm going to make about the financial side of things, right? Because I know it's different situations for everybody. What you also need to understand is, especially if you're trading with the bots are owned by companies, and this is capitalism. We live in the United States of America over here. Whether you do or you don't, capitalism is what it is. They're there to make money. When you buy these things, you're not destroying anything. You are buying a product that you can resell. Okay, you're going to lose value if you buy something, decide you don't need it, you want to sell it again. You're going to lose value. There's no doubt about it. And some of those 2-cent and 4-cent cards you may never be able to sell because they're just worth so little anyway. But certainly the expensive cards, they are valuable and they will hold their value for the most part. So just want to make sure that that's something that people are aware of. Those objects, those cards, they hold their value.
So we're going to kind of tie this up a little bit. We kind of did we built the list on Cube Cobra. We made it moto friendly. We matched all the exact copies.
And we built it on rock and roll.
Everything. Yeah, we built the city on rock and roll. And then everything's kind of laid out. So now we got into the moto aspect. So we had our own personal challenges of moto because we're a bunch of touch paper kind of folks. I mean, Christian of the day, he was losing his mind. I mean, I already lost my mind 12 times with MTGO. It's a skill. The more reps I get, if you listen back on previous episodes, you'll hear the disaster class of me playing this. I'm now getting it. I don't want to go too down the road of that idea, but the more I've played it, the more I'm starting to get it. I do have my own personal challenges. I can't figure out the stack. I actually joked the other night while I was playing. I overpaid for an activated ability, May. I paid 1 green, 2 colorless. I did a thing, and I think I made my creature into a 5/3 on its activated ability. And then I did it again because I have no understanding of the stack cards and how they're placing them and the formatting of the screen, right? And I remember my buddy Bill, some of these people grew up on this idea. They're like, this is how they started playing Magic. And I got to deal with that. So I'm literally getting skewered while they're watching me like stream live. And they're like, Anthony, you paid for that again. And I don't care. I'm the good, perfect test subject for this idea. And then I joke, swing over to Christian. He's like, nope, don't do that. But because neither one of us know how to use this. We're all paper players. We're not even good paper players.
Oh, so I'll tell you right now that let me
teaching me things.
It's going to teach you to be a better Magic player. And the reason why I say that,
with this one bit,
there is no, let's face it, a lot of us are used to playing very casually.
A little slop.
We're used to playing sloppy. We're used to sitting around and having a few drinks. And I actually mentioned this on one of our previous episodes. One of the first times in a long time that I really felt like I played with purpose and to minimize mistakes and to play properly, dare I say, was at our good friend Sam's event. Because there was prizes on the line. He'd put a lot of effort into his event as far as making nice etched glasses and putting food on and all the, like, it meant a lot to him. So I felt like I owed it to his event to show up there and play with some purpose. You are forced to do so. You can't, let me just tap my mana a little differently. Let me just do things. Can I untap this land and tap that land? Or, I didn't mean to do that. Can I just play a land?
I'll go one step
There's
further.
no mistakes.
The shouting of hold priority that oftentimes gets ignored. Casual does not happen in this format. I'm holding priority is forced, right?
Everything is taken care of. You're not missing triggers. The triggers go on the stack. But it forces you to take into account every minutia of detail that otherwise you might not pay as much attention to when you're playing casually, because you kind of think, I can play a little sloppy, I can kind of undo here or there or change things if I need to. You don't get those chances.
No, you're committed. I double paid for that activated ability just the other night. The formatting's a little weird, getting used to that idea where the kind of the spatial recognition of where cards lay out, the exile pile. You know, it's funny because no one gives you a tutorial on this stuff. Not really. I'm getting it like live, where the first 6 times I played this game, no one explained to me how to see cards in exile. Then Thomas is like, hey, oh my God, it's right there. Click this button. I'm like, what button? What button? This is all happening in a channel. This is... I don't know. It was kind of fun. It's frustrating and fun all wound up in one, right? Like, I can play Magic and paper. I can touch cards. This is a whole different conversation,
it's
right?
It's a different experience.
But it's a different experience.
But it's still Magic.
But at least we got you there.
Yep.
At least through a little walkthrough.
It's still Magic. You're still playing Magic.
There's a lot more connect the dots in this conversation.
Yep.
That's why I want to get Matt on here, because some people are just really good at this.
Yep.
And this is kind of, you're good at this. You solved this. You're familiar with this.
I've got 10 plus years on Magic Online.
I'm a pioneer that brought no wagon. I brought no wagon.
Listen, I have got many years, well over 10 years. At least 10 years. I don't know exactly.
I'm
but
playing
over 10 years
and I'm playing the Oregon
Magic
Trail,
Online.
and I got a snake bite.
Yeah, I've done everything. I've done vintage cube drafts. I've played constructed Magic. Whatever you want to mention as far as playing on Magic Online, I've probably done it. Outside of Commander, I've never played Commander, but it will teach you to be a better player. And to really wrap it up, you can get your reps in with your cube. If you choose to buy all the cards, you can do it. If anyone needs help, reach out. You can make those sort of cube dreams come alive, especially for cubes that might be a little financially challenging in paper because the economies are different, or if you've got challenge geographically, or if you just don't want to sit in a room full of people and play and you want to be sat in the comfort of your home. Now you have the opportunity to do so.
Or if you don't want to use your family Magic credits and burn them because you're already at work anyways, you're in a different state, that's where my positive...
How many credits you got this week, Anthony? 1 or 2 left?
I might have burned one today.
Just
recording.
1 left. Oh,
but
okay.
Everything's a cred. But I think that's actually an interesting way to kind of get a little more outreach, a little bit more robust feedback,
I agree.
a wider reach, right? You can go international with your feedback.
Yeah.
Sneeze.
All right, as always, a huge shout out to all of our Patreons, to Jeff, to Nick Lapointe, Chris Fitzgerald, Timber Dragon, Brian Christensen, Keaton Schultz, Lord Justice, Preston, and Sam McKenna. A big thank you to all of you for your ongoing support and helping us keep the lights on here at UberCube. As always, if you want to use our inkedgaming.com/UberCube affiliate link to help support the show, go get all kinds of custom and large volume products available there for your Magic experience. You can also reach us at the socials, Twitter, at UberCube MTG Pod, or at Bluesky, UberCube MTG Podcast.bsky.social, or if you want to go and check out our episodes on YouTube, UberCube MTG Podcast 747, to go check them out over there. If you got a longer question or comment about this episode or any other episode or about Cube in general,
or
feedback, UberCube MTG Podcast at gmail.com. Last of all, again, a huge thanks to all of our Patreons. And again, really want to stress that this episode has been about really doing Cube in a different way. I know online might not be everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people are really committed to playing on paper, and nothing wrong with that. I know for sure that I love playing in paper. But we do want to start doing some more content, both on YouTube and also with our Patreons. We're going to start looking to do some drafts. We've already done a couple with a couple of our Patreons that were fortunate enough to just happen to be around while we were doing some Diablo Cube testing.
You can also find us in the UberCube Discord.
Discord.
You'll see us just creeping around one of the game channels.
Listen,
that's probably what's happening.
And even this, if you're just interested in doing a draft, just maybe ask in the general channel. Anyone may be interested in doing a draft, and if we're available,
there.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And then other than that, one more time.
And with that, we're going to say what we always say.
Diablo Cube.
Stay a while and listen.
Stay a while and... Oh, actually, stay a while.
Stay a while and Diablo Cube.
Listen.
We're going to say what we always say at the end here, and... Happy cubing!
Play the Diablo Cube.